Oh, hi. Hey, what's up, good people? My name is William Alderman. Just checking in with you guys with another video. Obviously, it is about my release that I choose to shoot and how it could be improved. So kind of like a love letter to Tru-Ball of saying, hey, I love you, but maybe we can make this a little bit better. So with all that being said, if you're interested, stay tuned. All right. So I was looking at the video footage and I was like, I didn't do this release justice. So I'm gonna go back and do a little bit bigger of a deep dive on why I think this release is so awesome. Now, this has been my go-to release for the last 5 years of archery, and I see no reason why I should switch. And I'm gonna give you all the reasons why. So first reason, comes down to the thumb peg. There's going to be a consistent theme as well. A lot of this comes down to just its adjustability and also its durability. With that being said, when it comes down to the thumb peg, I can adjust this thing out away from the body as well as into the body. I can twist the thumb peg and cant it towards the body where it's actually going backwards as well as forwards. Just when it comes down to the overall adjustment of this release and the thumb peg is fantastic. Now that leads me to what I normally have it as is my thumb activation. So that's a thumb button or button, however you want to call it. I have a crap ton of travel adjustment as well as tension adjustment. So I can make this thing really, really heavy, really, really light, make it a zero travel, and then I can kind of make it a little bit more of a spongy type of feel. But when it comes down to it, I like this thing super, super hot, and I can get it super, super hot. And so that's obviously super beneficial when it comes down to my style of shooting. When we talk about other adjustments on this release, we also look at the third finger. Now, it used to be that when you bought the release, you would get the third finger and fourth finger with it. So when I got it, I actually got both of those adjustments. I don't think they're doing that anymore, but beyond the point, the third finger in its adjustment is super, super vital. Now, why is it vital? If you look at your hand and you relax and you see like you keep a straight line, you see that there's actually like different bumps along the way. When I like to draw my hand or draw my bow, I like to use all three fingers as I'm drawing. If the next time you're shooting, you notice that you're putting a little bit more pressure on your index finger, I would encourage you to balance that pressure out. It, at least for me, creates a lot more consistency and comfort. With all that being said, is why is that third finger so important? Well, when I had this set up in this base form, yes, there's some comfort in it and it allowed me to comfortably draw, but me being able to articulate my release up and down led to that next level of comfort. Because even when I was trying to get my third finger on it, I noticed I had to create a little bit of extra tension so that I can get my pinky, or not my pinky, but my ring finger all the way to the release. But when I finally realized what that adjustment was there for, at least in my use case, I made the adjustment and realized that now, as I'm pulling back nice and level, I feel even pressure amongst all of my three fingers. The benefit of the four finger release is the fact that they don't just make this and set it up to where it's kind of like a one and done, just a solid piece of plastic. They actually have these not only in high quality material, but they also let you adjust every single finger beyond the main body of the release. So the pinky and the ring finger. So this is how I set up my hinge when I'm actually shooting in hinge mode. And the benefit of it is the fact that I like to use my pinky as my activation when I'm in hinge mode. So I will leave it off and draw normal like I'm with my button. Then when I'm ready to fire, I will then creep my index or my pinky finger around and then actually activate the shot by pulling through my pinky. That creates a lot more consistency. But what I found with some of the other releases that had the four finger, it's just straight across, like completely straight across the body. And it's really hard to get exactly the feel that I wanted. When I've touched other people's releases, whether it be the Longhorn that is like a still body, no, that's a three finger. But some of the other releases that I've touched along the way, I just was always like, I don't really like the feel of that. This will never run into that situation because if you don't like the feel of it, you can adjust it. The other benefit of this is not only just in the adjustments, but also the open hook style. The open hook of the release to me is super beneficial, especially when it comes down to hunting. I am not one that wants to leave my release on my bow. I don't find comfort in it. Like, I get pretty sketched out about that. I would rather leave it on my lanyard, which makes it super, super beneficial. I can literally slide it right under my lanyard, right onto my wrist, and lock that thing in to where I don't have to worry about my release being lost. People always talk about having two or having one is not enough. You have to have two of the same release so that you have a backup and make sure you're good. Now, do I have two? Yes, praise God, but that was just this past year because I found out Archery Talk for Still of a Deal. This right here has been my go-to. I've never lost it, never plan on losing it. And I'm only hunting in whitetail woods. So when I am in my tree, I like to leave it in my hand. One, it could be a fidget spinner or whatever, but beyond the point, I like to be able to acquire my target, quick hook, and then actually shoot the deer when it's time to shoot. To me, there's a calm peace about knowing that my release is definitely gonna be there, even if I accidentally bump it. And with how light I set my trigger, if I were to just bump it, even with it being on my D-loop, while I'm in the tree stand and that thing falls, that's the end of my hunt. So the open hook for me and my style of hunting just makes the most sense. I don't like having to look down at the seer, click it like in the Carters, where you have to like activate it while it's on the loop and then it hooks on. It's just too many things to think about. Right here, I can use my thumb, hook it on the D-loop, make sure it's set, and then draw and actually shoot, which makes for a world of a difference, a whole lot more peace when it comes down to shooting. Brings me to my other point of how we attach. So when I was using this, I would run my lanyard through the actual thumb peg adjustment area because there's just enough space where I can squeeze in just a little bit of a, what are they called? The key, like a key loop? Key loop, that's what we're gonna go with. A key loop, which is kind of like what you put your keys on, and I would just run it through there and then I would run my lanyard from there. It was string that it would dangle if I was at full draw. It wasn't helping me or aiding me in drawing my bow. All it was doing is keeping it attached to me as I was walking. So if I accidentally slipped out of my actual wrist strap, that it would still be there. That was the overall goal of a lanyard. When I draw my bow back, I'm using my hands and I'm going through my shot process just the way that I would do if I was shooting target or hunting. I want it to be consistent throughout, which now brings me to my biggest gripe. The biggest gripe about this release is, simply put, the hinge and its adjustment. Everything else has such fine adjustment. This only has travel to the click when you have it in hinge mode. And then you can buy a whole nother sear that then allows you to maybe shorten it up and be a little bit quicker from click to shot. But I was at ASA last weekend and I realized, like, dude, we could definitely, I say we, let me stop including myself. Tru-Ball can definitely take what's in the Fulcrum Flex AC, I believe is what it's called. Let me look that up. Ha, I was right. But what you can do, just like I said, take from the Fulcrum Flex, the AC, what I think might be beneficial with all of the built-in adjustment of travel, then to the click, and then shot after the click, and the adjustments from click to shot. All of that is built into the Fulcrum Flex AC. I think that would take this release, which is already an awesome and phenomenal release, and optimize it to being a even better release. I think the biggest gripe and biggest complaint about this release is definitely when it's in the hinge mode. And I think if you guys at Tru-Ball can close the gap and make that just a little bit better by switching the sear and figuring out how those two sears can be interchangeable, man, oh man, oh man, I don't think there would be any reason for anybody else to buy any other release other than price. Because this is not a cheap release by any means. I think I got it The first one I got for like $250, and then this other one I think I got for about $170. So they are not cheap by any means, but I think they're quality equipment and they stand by their gear. I had a few springs, going back to the negative side, I had a few springs leading up to in my past few years that went bad inside the release, but I sent it back and they replaced it. And all I had to do, I think, was pay for shipping. So then on top of that, the last time I called, I was like, man, is this something that I'm doing or is this the release? And she informed me that they actually had been problem shooting some other issues, and found out that it was in the spring itself, and they think that they found an optimal spring. And I can say I've been shooting this since last year and I have had no issues. It has not gotten soft on me. It stayed just as crisp, as a break that I really like and really enjoy. But that's the big reason why I did get another release as a backup. Now, I just was saying you don't need a backup, blase. But I also love to practice as a hinge, and me not having to switch back and forth is nice. And it was blue. I mean, who doesn't want more variety in the release kit or whatever? So I figured for the cost and for the price, why not? But again, I know this is a way longer video than a lot of people are even interested in watching, and this is not for everybody, and I'm fine with that. But what I wanted to do was take the time to actually talk about this release in its fullness and why I think it is definitely one of the best releases out there, if not the best. Just depending on your use case, but also wanted to give some direct feedback to Tru-Ball. Yes, you guys, please, if you guys can take that hinge out of the Fulcrum Flex AC and put that into the GOAT, I would love you guys forever. But until then, don't forget to be better, be great. William Alderman is out. Peace.